everybody. It's Matt Bernath with the MJ Bernath Group, and we're talking about delegation today. For some leaders, and especially entrepreneurs and business owners, letting go of tasks and responsibilities can be daunting and scary. Many times, we can be overwhelmed by the amount of work involved in effectively delegating and really concerned about the outcomes not meeting our high standards. I'm here today to introduce you to a simple delegation framework that has proven successful in my own businesses and also those who I coach. This framework, combined with the discipline in the process, will relieve the stress you feel in handing off your work to others and make the process more consistent. I'll start by saying that I do not address the concepts around figuring out what you want to delegate. I'm assuming that you've already figured out what those things are. However, if that is a place where you're stuck, please reach out to me directly for some pointers. Essentially, you'll want to delegate those things that you don't like to do, don't play to your strengths, and are generally taking up your time that you should be focusing on other strategic and visionary objectives. Think of the tactical things that consume your time throughout the day that prevent you from working on your team's strategic goals and keep you working in the day to day. The four-step delegation framework starts with laying the groundwork, moves to asking for help, continues through the important step of training and development, and concludes with check ins and feedback. The last step is really ongoing and is a good behavior for any leader to stay on the pulse of their team. So let's dig into the first step, laying the groundwork. We're going to walk through the framework here today. This is where you create buy-in from the team member or team that you're looking to delegate to. You see, most A players want to be challenged with important work that's meaningful and makes an impact. What they don't want is someone else's problems dropped on their lap or for a leader to tell them to do something as part of their job. Laying the groundwork takes a little planning on your part in order to identify the higher level description of what's involved in the work to be delegated, why that work fits into the company and or team vision and goals, and that's really critical, and how that work impacts the company, the teammates, etc. People want to do work that makes an impact. When you take the time to think through these things from the eyes of whom you're delegating to, not just from your own eyes, but whom you're delegating to, you're able to make a case for this work being incredibly important to them and impactful for the company and their team. The conversation that happens as you lay out this information may coincide with the second step of asking for help. You may have one conversation there between these two steps. Often this is done in a single meeting where you lay the groundwork and then ask for help. After the groundwork has been laid, you will ask the employee or the team for help with the work to be delegated. And that's our second step in the process. When we assume as leaders that someone's going to take this work on, we can create tension in the place where they feel obligated to take the work versus feeling excited to help you or the team to drive the goals forward. And many of us have experienced that. It's like, you keep overloading somebody with work and you expect them to say no, 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 when they've reached their max point. But when the boss comes and asks for something, there's an obligation there, and you don't want them to do it out of obligation. You want them to feel excited to drive those goals forward. This part of the process requires some planning as well. You will take a little time to think through the unique qualities, expertise, and maybe the positioning, how this person is well suited to take on that work. This is where you think hard about why you've chosen to delegate to this specific person or team and articulate to them specifically so they understand and feel confident about being called to action. Don't get hung up on the fact that this person may be the only person to delegate to in a small company. Don't get hung up on that. If that's the case, I'm sure they still have some unique talents that you feel are a good fit for this specific work, and you want to point those unique talents and situations out, even if they're the only one you could possibly delegate to. This is also a time to instill confidence and boost their self-esteem. At this point, you'll want to have laid the groundwork and told them why they're a good fit for this work, and you want to genuinely ask for their help. When you've done this right, that person will feel like they've been called to take on new challenges and responsibilities that drive the business forward towards its goals through that meaningful work. Remember, this will take some practice, and give yourself space to make progress instead of challenging yourself to be perfect. Once you've received buy in from the delegatee, you'll need to work together to create a plan for training and development, which is our third step. This will look different for every situation. So there's not one silver bullet that works for every time. What is consistent is the need to collaborate with the employee or team that's taking on the work. Let them be mostly involved in determining the best way to learn and how to excel in this work. Your responsibility as a leader is to help them with what they don't know, which really are their blind spots, and articulate to them what successful results will look like. This is where you reinforce the vision of what it looks like to succeed at this work. Sometimes people need to hear things 7 times for that to really register. And throughout this process, you want to reinforce that vision of what successful outcomes look like. It could be KPIs, surveys, clear cut numerical results, for example, sales results, or it could be something a little more nebulous, such as employee or team feedback. Regardless, this will have to be repeated multiple times throughout the process so as to reinforce the destination and the impact of the work. This is not a time to micromanage the process. You do not want to tell them how to do the work unless it's extremely technical and a step-by-step explanation is necessary. Oftentimes you want to just articulate the vision, where do we want to go, and let them delight you with their outcomes. It's really a time to show the delegatee how you have learned to get the work done in the past, but make sure to create a space for them to find new and better ways to achieve those results. In fact, you can specifically challenge them to do just that based around their unique skills or positioning. That alone can be a reason for delegating work. Simply that you feel someone is better qualified to produce results. Next in the process is check-ins and feedback. The big key to ensuring results you're after in delegating the work is to follow up. Again, this should not be micromanagement, but instead should be coaching and feedback around the work that was delegated. At this point, it should be very clear to the delegatee what's expected of them and what those successful results are. At this point, you'll collaborate with the employer team who's learning and learning and executing the delegated work, and determine what meeting pulse is most ideal for check-ins. Oftentimes, those check-ins could be very formal meetings, or they could be informal. Regardless, they should happen in some regular manner. That way, everybody knows, hey, we're checking in on Mondays at 8 a.m. or Fridays at 2 p.m. or somewhere in the middle there. Find a formal or informal check-in that can happen regularly. These could be informational check-ins via phone, virtual check-ins, maybe pop into their office, or combine those with maybe a monthly formal check-in on a periodic basis. I recommend starting with more frequent check-ins than you think you might need at first, and then taper them off when you start to feel like there's not much to talk about and you're seeing the results that you expect. A critical piece to keeping these check-ins productive is to focus on the impact and results of the work and stay away from micromanaging the process on how the work gets done. Make the conversations about the importance of the work and how it is or is not producing the desired results, and how those results tie into the goals of the company. Since you've been doing a great job articulating what those successful results look like, the feedback should not come as a surprise to the delegatee. Now, while this whole process might sound like a lot of work, you can bite these different steps off in chunks and make significant progress with very little effort. I can't stress enough how important it is to collaborate instead of direct, and also to never assume that someone is willing to take on your workload. You will need to make a case for them taking that workload on and convince that person or team they are the best fit and can produce positive results. Your actions during training, development, and check-in phases will need to support, enliven, and instill confidence along the way. The difference between effective leaders who get a lot accomplished and those who struggle to get things done is their ability to effectively delegate. If you found yourself to be challenged in this area, change your perspective and try these techniques and let me know how it goes for you. My contact information can be found at mjbernath.com. That's mjbernath.com. You'll also see the link down below. And that's where you can also download a copy of this framework. Thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you found this to be helpful.